right now.
안녕하십니까?
So, hello
저는
everyone.
한국 LH 연구원에
I am
있는
Cho Young-tae from
조영태입니다.
LH Smart City
오늘은
Research Center.
KLID, 클리드라고 불리고
Today,
있는데요.
KLID,
한국
KLID, Korea
지역정보개발원에서
Local Information
하는
Research
국제
Development
리빙랩
Institute is
포럼을
hosting this
시작하겠습니다.
International Living Lab Forum.
클리드와
So let me start this Living
나우만
Lab
재단
Forum.
그리고
It is
엔놀이
co-hosted by KLID
함께하는
and the
리빙랩입니다.
Friedrich Naumann Foundation.
클리드와 엔놀은
KLID and ENoLL
이번 주 금요일인데요. 12월 11일 업무 협약을 체결할
will
예정입니다.
sign an MOU
그리고
on
오늘
this
행사는
coming
그
Friday,
행사 전에
11th of
이
December. And
MOU를
before signing
기념해서
the MOU,
해외
to commemorate the
리빙랩의
signing of the MOU, we have
우수한 사례들,
invited
개념들을
speakers from the
학습하기
ENoLL
위한
so that we can
행사입니다.
learn the best practices of
오늘
ENoLL.
행사에는 코로나 때문에 직접 만나지는
Because of
못하고요.
the
온라인으로
COVID-19
연결되고
pandemic,
있습니다.
we are hosting this
한국에 약
international forum
250개
virtually
지자체가 있는 지방
online.
정부가 있는데
There are
이 지방 정부의
250
다른
local authorities in
공무원분들도
Korea
참여하고
and
계십니다.
many public officials
아마
from those local authorities of
어제까지
Korea are right now
사전
attending this
등록하신
virtual
분이
forum because this forum was
320명
notified
정도입니다.
in advance to
지금
320 people.
채팅창에 보면
So
약
right now, if
60명 정도가
we
들어와
look at
있는데
the chatting window,
우리가
we
진행하다
are
보면
joined by
더 확대되지
66
않을까
participants
싶습니다.
as audience. So let me start
본
our
행사를
international
축하해
forum on
주시기
a
위해서
full scale. First,
나우만
I'd like
재단에서
to invite
크리스티안
head of
탁스
FNF Korea,
대표님께서
Christian Tax,
환영사를
for an
해주시겠습니다.
welcoming speech.
환영사는
Mr. Tax,
미리 주신 영상을 통해서
he will
만나보도록
play a
하겠습니다.
video of the welcome
영상
speech.
Dear ladies
부탁드립니다.
and gentlemen, online and offline, there aren't many offline participants actually today. On behalf of the Friedrich Naumann Foundation for Freedom, the FNF, I would like to cordially welcome you to our forum. We are living in very special times and would have loved to meet you all in person, but COVID-19 has us in its firm grip. Therefore, we are hosting this as an online event today. My special thanks go to KLID, the Korea Local Information Research and Development Institute, for organizing today's event with us. We are grateful that we are able to flexibly adapt to the needs of the Corona challenge. This year, we have successfully organized a series of AI seminars, artificial intelligence, dealing with various aspects of AI in our daily life. All 4 times of AI seminars were very positively received by our participants. Encouraged by this year's success, I'm very happy to already announce a new series of seminars for next year, which is Living Lab. Indeed, today's forum is a special opening of our Living Lab seminar series in 2021, so please tune in again. And I should express very special thanks to ENoLL, the European Network of Living Labs, for co-hosting the program with us. It is our first joint program, and I hope to see many more joint activities to foster inclusive citizens' participation and to harness new technologies for the sake of people. For those among you who are not familiar with us, allow me to give some brief remarks on what our institution, the Friedrich Naumann Foundation for Freedom, stands for. We are an independent German non-profit organization established in 1958. Our philosophy is to promote liberal ideas which comprise individual freedom and responsibility, market economy, the rule of law, and human rights. Today, 62 years after we were founded, we have projects in about 65 countries worldwide. Our statutory projects are in the fields of civic education and dialogue, sponsorship of the talented, research and political consultation, and archive work. The foundation opened its office here in Seoul in 1987. Since then, we have continuously worked in the field of local government, decentralization, citizen participation. Today, this means smart cities and the transformation from city into a smart city, and the aim to create an environment where citizens like to live and where they can make their living. The smart city aims to provide convenient public services based on the converged ICT technologies and ultimately enhancing citizens' quality of life. In many fields, we lack experience and are in a laboratory stage. Living labs bring together users and producers to co-create innovation in a real-life setting, ensuring inclusion and participation for all stakeholders. From the early stages of planning and designing of smart cities, these Living Labs principles and organizational strategies could be applied to better reflect all citizens' actual needs and ensure democratic governance. Digitalization can increase citizens' participation and strengthen democracy. Digitalization and technological innovation can enhance citizens' freedom and facilitate civic participation. There are lots of challenges ahead of us, and there is an enormous potential for the improvement of the lives of our citizens. I'm looking forward to inspiring presentations and a lively discussion within this webinar. Thank you very much for being with us this afternoon, and I hope to see you again in our Living Lab seminars in 2021. Thank you very much.
네, 이상으로
The welcoming
나움만
remarks by
대표님의
Dr. Christian Talks,
인사
head of
말씀
FNF Korea.
한영사 있으셨습니다.
Those were
제가
the welcoming
시간으로
remarks.
조금 연결을
Perhaps
드려볼까요?
we can meet him
크리스티안
online
탁스
right now.
대표님.
Dr. Christian Talks?
I'm gladly doing so. So thank you very much for inviting me for this important event. And actually, we are taking up a tradition, and I think lots of things have developed also in Korea through Living Lab, and so a lot of Living Lab thinking and understanding could be established already. But we see, together with our friends from KLID, that there is a further need to go deeper into that, because all the developments are continued to go on. And therefore, please, all of you who are watching us on YouTube channel today, stay tuned next year, and we are very much looking forward to that. I personally have learned a lot so far already from Fernando and this experience with Living Labs in Europe, but also around the world. And it's very, very good that we in Korea can be part of this now, because it's a mutual learning for the best of the people. Thank you very much.
예, 감사합니다.
Thank you so much.
오늘 발표는 세 분의
So we have
전문가
prepared,
발제가 준비되어 있습니다.
Two presentations
모두
by
다
three
엔놀 분들이십니다.
experts.
관계하고
These people
계시는데요.
are all from ENoLL.
엔놀의 의장님이신 페르난도
First speaker is
빌라리노님
Fernando Vilariño,
발표가
chairperson
있을
of
예정입니다.
ENoLL, European Network of Living Labs.
매니저로
give us the
네트워킹
first
빌딩을 하고
presentation,
계시는
and
쿤
Koen
페어부트
Vervoort,
매니저님
who is in charge of
네,
network
발표도
building,
준비되어
will also
있습니다.
give us
그리고
a
마지막으로
presentation. And
한국과 아주
lastly,
가까운데요. 대만의 벨린다
Belinda
첸
Chen from
부국장님
Taiwan, which is
현재
quite close to Korea.
엔놀의
She is
이사로 활동하고
working as a
계십니다.
director for ENoLL, and she
그래서
will give us the
대만의
final
사례들도
presentation
저희 한국에
for today's
소개해
program.
주실
She will
예정입니다.
introduce
그럼
the
순서로
projects in Taiwan.
먼저 저희가 원래 계획을 했던 것처럼 쿤 페어버트 엔놀의 매니저님의 발표를 먼저 듣도록 하겠습니다. 제가 가지고 있는 자료를 통해서 쿤 페어버트 소개를 드리겠습니다.
So let me introduce
저희가 가지고 있는
Mr.
자료를
Koen
보니까
Vervoort.
되게 재미있는 이력을 가지고 있습니다.
He has a very interesting bio and experience. From 1994, he worked at McDonald's, Nike, and IKEA as a frontline manager.
2006년부터는
And starting from 2006,
아이마인드,
He worked at iMinds,
다양한
iMac,
리빙랩에서
and
활동을 하시고
other diverse living
그리고
labs.
2020년부터는
And since
ENoLL 직접
2020,
사무국
he has been
오피스에서
working at a
일을 하고 계십니다.
secretariat of ENoLL,
조금 생소한 개념인데요.
taking on many
네트워킹
responsibilities. He
빌딩을
is in
담당하신다고 되어
charge of
있습니다.
network building,
저희가
which is very
저희한테 이
refreshing
네트워킹
for
빌딩
many
그리고
Korean people,
리빙랩에
because this is
성공할
quite
수
new.
있는 요소들 이런 것들을
Network
좀
building is
도움을
one
부탁드립니다.
factor for the
그러면
success of ENoLL, so we'd
준비되셨으면
like to hear from
이
his experience.
코엔
So if
페어부트님의
Mr.
발제를
Koen
먼저 청해
Vervoort is
듣도록
ready,
하겠습니다.
I'd like to give him
부탁드리겠습니다.
the floor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Young, and very nice to meet you all and having us in this important webinar. Indeed, my name is Koen Vervoort, and I have the pleasure to be the network builder of ENoLL since the beginning of this year, trying to build our network from within and strengthen the ties between all our members and even outside our network. I would like to start my presentation with one slider on what living labs are from our perspective and why it's so important that we focus on it. Well, living labs are, as you probably know, open innovation systems which are citizen-centric, so the people are core in everything we do. And we try to involve as many different types of people, stakeholders, if you want to call them, as possible, via co-creation, via knowledge exchange, via community building, and also all that kind of co-creational activities. And although there are many different types of living labs, I think we can define 6 common elements which are to be found in by all of them. Living labs mainly orchestrate the open innovation system via active user involvement and co-creation activities in a multi-method and stakeholder approach. And the most important part is they do it in the real life setting of the stakeholders. Then when we go further to the ENoLL network, like I already said, although we are called a European network of living labs, actually we are a global network. I think we are quite happy, and I'm sure Fernando will second me in this, that we see more and more Asian and more specific Korean living labs coming to our community. So we are not a European phenomena, we are a global phenomenon, and we are really proud to have a relevant role within the living landscape. So what we try to do is we try to offer brokering services and support to create joint projects, consortiums, collaborations. We offer capacity building, and we try to influence European policies to further embed living labs into their calls and programs. We are around quite already a long time, so we were founded in 2006 and we became an international non-profit association in 2010. And during that time, we have, via our high quality labeling process, certified 474 living labs since 2007. Of course, at this stage, not all of those 474 are still active, but in 2020, we have 153 active members, of which we have approximately 130 adherent members and approximately 20 effective members. The effective members, they really take a big part of our network, and together with us at the Secretariat, well, they actually guide us to steer the network forward. As you can see on the right, we are a mainly European network, of course, but as you can see as well, Asia is pretty well represented within our network, and we hope to bring up those figures outside Europe too. So our approach and our goals is to offer a path of growth to all our members and to learn from each other. The newcomers to learn from the more experienced ones and vice versa. And we try to empower everyone to innovate within a living lab setting. And we do this via three main pillars, of which Fernando will tell you a bit more about after my presentation. So we have the labeling, we have capacity building, and then we have our action-oriented task forces. How do we now connect all those members and our community? This is, I think, the most famous event that we have is what we call our digital and/or open living lab days, which is held right after summer every year again. It's a global gathering of everyone who has the heart for the living lab way of thinking, and it's a exchange between all of them with research sessions, but mainly interactive workshops, offering people the chance to learn from experts. We have topic debates, of course we have plenary sessions and high-level speakers. And during the year, we try to organize ENoLL focused sessions via those action-oriented task forces around very different teams. We have a lot of areas of work and linked to all the projects which we are working in, we try to organize focused discussions. When you look at our projects which are running or are starting soon, we are quite in the luxury to have not less than 13 European projects in which we are involved. We are really glad to be able to contribute to this international cross-border collaborations. And as you can see, they are focused in many different areas of work. So I try to map them on a scale, but of course there are many interactions between those pillars, and we have areas of work, but these are not like siloed approaches. We try to foster as much knowledge exchange between those areas of work as possible as well. We are quite active in the environment and the social innovation right now, but we transpose these findings and these learnings, of course, to the ones in health and well-being, AI, which Fernando will tell you more about as well, and the rural and urban activities as well. So by this, I would round up my part of the presentation. I would like to give the floor to our chair, Fernando, dive a bit deeper. Thank you.
네, 페르난도 의장님께 마이크를 넘기셨는데
He has turned the mic over to Mr. Fernando Vilariño, but I would like to briefly introduce Mr. Vilariño, or perhaps maybe you would like to go first and then I will introduce you later. What would you prefer?
I'm happy to be introduced. Thank you very much.
예. 저희 페르난도 의장님은 2018년에
Fernando Vilariño, I believe, became chairperson of ENoLL in August 2018. Currently, he is associate professor at Barcelona's UAB, or Spain's UAB University. And he is co-founder of the Library Living Lab, and I'm sure that during his presentation, he will introduce that project as well. And he is also interested in AI and digital sociology. And as we heard from Koen, he is an expert at the quadruple helix model. And with that, I would like to turn over the mic to Mr. Vilariño for his presentation.
Thank you very much. I will start sharing my screen. Thank you very much, Mr. Chen, for your your words. It's a pleasure to be here sharing the screen with you and with the colleagues from the FNF Foundation, the colleagues from KLID, with whom we are going to sign a very relevant agreement for during our next General Assembly. And I think that this is the consolidation of a relation between ENoLL and the Korean ecosystem that comes from many years ago, and that now it's, I think, arriving to a moment in which the Living Lab movement is spreading to the community, to the world community. So as Koen was mentioning before, we are not only a European movement, we are a global movement. And this global movement, what I would like to share with you is our approach to the type of organization in which our Living Labs are having their activities. We have created an ENoLL program with action-oriented task forces because, yes, and this was mentioned by Christian Tax before, Living Labs are about people-centric innovation and actions. So we are not a think tank only. We are gathering our communities around actions. And these actions in ENoLL are organized in a number of verticals. These verticals are social innovation and digital rights, the social impact of artificial intelligence, health and well-being, energy and environment, and rural Living Labs. As you can see, it is not only the technology development which matters here, but the implication of all these stakeholders. And we are interested in having this impactful view to the implication of all these stakeholders in order to understand how Living Labs can contribute to a better society. During the last months, we have had the chance of living very, very difficult moments. And these difficult moments have been brought by the SARS-CoV-2 pandemic and the COVID-19 disease. The Living Lab community has been organizing around that in order to try to provide an answer to this challenge. And I would like to share with you a number of actions that we have been collecting and discussing within the Living Lab community. You have the link in this slide. It's ENoLL/COVID-19, and you can download here all the webinars, the slides, and the report that we had from these 7 actions in which the Living Lab community has been organized for supporting the COVID-19 challenges and needs. Let me start by the first one. You know, the maker community is a very strongly linked community with Living Labs. And during the pandemic, at least at the beginning, there was a strong need of masks, a strong need of respirators, and there has been a very agile response from innovation ecosystem around the making community in order to produce these very necessary assets to support the pandemic. This was something that never happened at the same pace, and this is very important because we have an infrastructure of maker spaces that have shown to be able to put their hands together and get coordinated with the public authorities in order to provide this first push. What we get from this action is that we have now the mechanics, the dynamics of interaction of these publicly spread maker spaces that can be connected with Living Labs in order to agilely respond to crisis, which is a very relevant outcome. Also in this line of action, we have seen that hackathons have been a very, very relevant tool in order to foster innovation. Our Living Labs have been very active organizing hackathons in which both public administrations and developers have been working to specific challenges based on needs that the COVID-19 had. So what we are having now is a methodology in which hackathons can be effectively used in a very, very, very agile way. And this has been happening also for public authorities, which usually are dragged by bureaucracy in order to develop new solutions. But now we have the evidence that if we organize our communities or we let our communities organize themselves in an agile way, it is possible to develop and to deliver technology applications rooted, connected with actual needs through hackathons. And this is what the Living Lab community has been showing. This has an impact in the citizens' engagement through the government and through the policies that our public authorities has had. I mean, it is not a very, it has been not a pleasant moment for our city managers and our regional managers and our national managers. It has been very difficult to deal with this situation and in these dramatic events. So we have understood with the challenges I mentioned to this in a larger impact. And this is what COVID has told us from the university, that we can still have a digital version of our Living Labs, connecting our communities and leading them. Finally, we don't have, but not least, we don't have to forget that the innovation ecosystem is supported also by our rural areas. We know that rural areas are historically a place of hard innovation, but now what we have seen is that there is an evolution of these rural areas in order to adapt themselves to the new situation. We have seen how nature engagement in these moments in which fresh air is the best recipe have been evolving in order to get new business models, new sustainability models, to enjoy and to develop also the complementary of the smart city, which is the smart rural concept. Agri-food has been also touched by the COVID, and the whole life cycle of the food production has been definitely modified, because we now need to understand how the confinements, how these lock situations are affecting, not only in terms of mobility, but also in terms of the production and the interchange of assets. So finally, our SMEs have been, at least in Europe, the first economical target that we have had so far. Just to give you an example, it is expected that there have been a decrease of more than 12% of the product in Spain for 2021, which is a lot. This will increase the unemployment tax, and this will also provide a lot of needs from our population. This also connects with the need of open innovation processes and more agile processes in order to support our SMEs for innovation. So we have a window of opportunity here in order to transform our ecosystems through innovation. Probably this is the recipe. This is the economical recipe. And we're talking about innovation. We are not probably talking about injecting billions and billions and billions who are very much needed, but also to provide some more sustainable business models in order to be more resilient to next crisis, which probably will arrive. This picture provides probably an approach to what Living Labs can give to the history that we had in the COVID-19 pandemic this year. This was not over and will not be over. So what we would like to have is an invitation to all of you that are willing to contribute to this analysis and to this experience in which Living Labs can help to make our lives easier in these so difficult moments. Please contact us and let us work together. I will be very brief because we are out of time, but I would like to just give you a glimpse of what is the approach that we will have for the next years in terms of our action-oriented task forces. First of all, Living Labs are about a new social innovation technology. So it's a new social technology. It is, since for instance, technology, IoT, artificial intelligence can be understood as hard technologies, we believe that Living Labs can be understood as social technologies. And for that, we need a capacity building. This is not happening for free. We need to invest in understanding these methods, these tools, in order to be the layer on which all the rest of the innovation process is supported. Regarding the social impact of AI, of artificial intelligence, we are having amazing years to come, but we have to do it properly in order to understand how to engage our citizens in the decision processes that will arrive before it is too late. This has to do also with the transformation of our public spaces. And for instance, we have been working with the network of libraries of Barcelona in Spain in order to transform the public libraries from repository of books into innovation places in which citizens can test and validate, work and develop the computer vision tools that we are doing, for instance, in my center, the research center of the computer vision center. Health and well-being, as I was mentioning, will be one of the reference points for the future as well. And we are working on this orientation from patient to protagonist. There are different ways of understanding this, and public innovation procurement is one of the tools that we will have to understand much better, but also the link between the association of patients, as I was mentioning before, and the harmonization of international projects that can connect among each other. This is key, because otherwise we cannot share the services. We cannot share a common frame for supporting our population in an aging society, which I think is, for at least for Europe, is one of the main concerns. Definitely, the framework is a new Green Deal, as we are saying currently in Europe, as the karma is the transformation of the economic system into a sustainable green energy process, and this has to be linked to the way in which we produce, consume, and not only enjoy our energy, but also the change of the habits that we are going to happen. But this is not focused on telling people how they will have to change their habits. But on the other hand, it would be more efficient to co-create together with our cities, with our rural areas, processes that allow for these communities to better contribute to this change of habits. So this is the actual key that we are working together with our partners in Switzerland, for instance, regarding the paradigmatic change of energy. Finally, as I was mentioning before, for rural areas, we're having two main lines of action. The first one is the change of the agri-food life cycle, and the second one is the capacitation of digital skills for rural citizens. This is essential because this is complementing. We know that cities are going to be the protagonists, let's say, of the growth in the years to come, but this is not happening without an efficient complementation of our rural areas. We have been working very closely with the European Commission in this area and also with our colleagues in Canada, and we are looking forward to work with you as well. I'm finishing. As I was mentioning before, this is not happening for free. We need to develop a capacity building program, and that means to train also our stakeholders, not only the managers of the Living Labs, but the public institutions, our companies, our citizens also, in the basics of open innovation and Living Lab methodologies. And this is the reason why we have created our first virtual learning lab, in which during 80 weeks, we are having a training program after which you can assess that you have achieved the basic concepts of this ENoLL approach to open innovation and Living Labs. So thank you very much, 감사합니다. It's been a pleasure also to be here with you, and I'm happy to stay here and to listen also to our next speaker, Belinda.
네, 발표 잘 들었습니다.
Thank you very much for your presentation.
뿐만 아니라 행동하고
You talked
실천하는
about how there is an emphasis on
주체로서
action and
역할을
implementation
한다는
at ENoLL.
소개도
You not only develop
해주셨고요.
methodologies, but you are centered on
그리고
action and
농촌이라든가
implementation.
헬스케어,
And you
에너지
talked about the
부분에
focus
우리
on health,
국민들도
energy, and
말씀해
rural living labs.
마지막에 또 말씀해
And
주셨던
towards the end,
가상 리빙랩
you talked about
교육과정,
the virtual learning lab process. And I think that this is something that the Korean stakeholders would be very much interested in. As I mentioned earlier, today at this event, we have many participants who are joining us via YouTube, and I'm sure many public servants are watching this via YouTube, and I hope that they are able to incorporate what you have just said in their policy making, and I hope that it helps them in establishing their policies. And I have several questions, but I will make use of the discussion time that has been allotted for us after all the presentations are made. So now the last presentation will be made by Belinda Chen, who is with the Institute for Information Industry. And she is, as I mentioned earlier, with the Institute for Information Industry. She has a very strong academic background. She got her master's at in Taiwan, and then she received her PhD from the School of Public Health in Harvard University. Currently, she is the Deputy Director of Digital Service Innovation Institute at the III. And if you look at her career, she worked as a research scientist at the National Health Research Institute of Taiwan. So she is a researcher as well. I have not been able to see her presentation yet, but she is going to share with us very specific cases of living lab in Taiwan. And at the Asia Pacific Economic Forum, Taiwan's science parks were selected as the gold winner of the 2017 Energy Smart Communities Initiative Best Practices Awards program. Now we would like to invite Ms. Chen for the presentation. The floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to share with you of our experience about Living Lab in Taipei, Taiwan here. Taiwan Living Lab is, I have to say, we have been a senior member of ENoLL since the year of 2009, and we have become an effective member 4 years later in 2013, year of 2013. And so far, we have launched many innovative service projects covering from safety, tourism, healthcare, education, and convenience. And starting from last year, we also have participated in the artificial intelligence task force of ENoLL, which I will share with you some of our results through video in the last section of the presentation today. And from here, you can see in the button, in the middle button, this is the original size of our Living Lab, which is covered about 3 square meters in Taipei City. We are located in a prime area in the city, and there's a population of over 50,000 people living in this society, living in this community. And every year, our Living Lab will launch a new project to include the researchers, academia groups, and community residents to participate in the Living Lab. And since the beginning of this year, as the COVID-19 has a great impact all over the world, and so we have seen many digital technologies used to combat the spread of disease. And also we have trying to help the local community to still keep the people's life normal, and also to promote people's health or convenience at work or in life. Therefore, in the first quarter of this year, we solicited Living Lab proposals in our office building and the nearby mission community, as I have described in the previous slides as an imperial empirical field, we're hoping to come up with useful ideas and ICT solutions for pandemic prevention. Therefore, how to keep people healthy and to bring them a convenient life is the main focus of our Living Lab proposal for the year of 2020. In the next few slides, I will introduce our Living Lab projects in this year. As we have been facing people need to keep social distance, and also we don't want to get close interaction with people. We found that there's a big request for people to do exercise at home. Therefore, the availability of connected sports equipment and tools that can track the movement, personal biological data to make exercise recommendation has become more and more popular in the world as well, not only in Taiwan. And so for this part of demands, we have set up, you can see from the bottom part of the slides, indoor gym that can keep people to track their own exercise records and also adjust their exercise motion in case there's any mistake they made during the exercise. So this is the first project that we have conducted for smart fitness and workout. And the second projects that we have conducted in our building is to create a smart weight training mirror. We know weight training has been very attractive to the young people, but when they cannot go out to gym to do the workouts, they're trying to do that at home. Therefore, for people who prefer private training session to keep social distance, we have offered this technology. It's a smart training mirror. It can help people to do the weight training exercise, even in the situation of short of professional coach in smart fitness centers. Therefore, these people can do the workouts facing the mirror, and then they can adjust their own posture or position to do the right exercise in these projects. And the next project is a COVID-19 prevention assistant. As we know, there's many equipments that have been available to measure the temperatures of the community residents. We have created this non-contact methods to measure people's temperatures. It helps to save a lot of manpower and also reduce personal and equipment contact as well. So you can see from here, we have automatic measurements for temperature and give real-time alert to the managers if there's somebody get with higher temperature that come into the building. And so this can give very effective management for the contagious of the disease. And this one, the next one is e-management of community center projects that we co-work with our local government. Before the pandemic, when the people want to register or want to use the community center, they have to go into the community office and to make registration and to pay for the usage. However, after the pandemic has been occurred, it is not very feasible to use the old methods. In order to simplify the rental process of community center and also to resolve management problems, we have created electronic management of the community center, so people can make the registration online and pay with their mobile payments, and then they use the their keyless methods to open the community center as well. So all of the measures has been created to decrease the personal and the personal contact, and in order to keep social distance between the community residents. And for the people, as we still keep the normal operation of office in Taiwan, therefore many people they still have to go to work every day. However, people tend to avoid to go out to buy their lunch or snack time. Or during the afternoon tea, they tend to avoid go out to purchase the foods by themselves. Therefore, we have cooperate with local beverage and the food shops to create easy, fun vending service. It's a contactless option for people to order lunch and snacks online. From here, you can see we have every day we have new menu for the office workers, so they can order the foods or the drinks or the snacks they like for the day, and then it will be delivered from the shops to the office without personal contact. So the purchase has been done from offline to online food ordering. And for this project, we hope cooperate with 30 partners within the community. It helps them to increase their revenue, and also make the people living in the people working in our office building can enjoy the convenient life as well. And this is another project that we developed with a local tea shop, because for contactless and safe shopping, we have set up this like a self-service corner in the office. So when people prefer something, well, it's all the drinks. You can see here it's all sold out. So when I took the photo that day, it's all sold out. So there used to be a lot of items here, a lot of drinks here, and then they can scan the beverage and use the QR code for checkout to pay with mobile payment methods. This is a very popular tea shop here in our office building. Things that we implemented it from the early of this year. And the last projects we have developed for this year is to use service robot as a guide to lead people to the proper meeting room, because our visitors often have troubles locating the specific venue among 8 meeting rooms in our building. And before the pandemic, we have a service assistant to help guide these people to the right meeting room. But as we know, the social distance is a very important thing. Therefore, in the middle of this year, we have cooperated with a service robot company and use the robots to guide the visitors inside our office building to the right meeting room, which has been quite effective and increased the safety for keeping people in a healthy condition. So in the next few minutes, I will show you a living live video of our artificial intelligence projects, which we have been conducted in this year. And we are very happy that we can be part of the task force of ENoLL's AI. But I'm not sure, can you hear the sounds?
We cannot hear the sound.
You cannot hear the sounds?
아직 안 들립니다. 이제 좀 들립니다.
Thematic demonstrations with topics. Their goal was to innovate and identify user needs, and then assist the industry to develop business model innovation. This way, brilliant ideas can be implemented and commercialized with empirical proof in different parts of Taiwan. During this process, the III offers experimentation fields, methodology, empirical objects, and partner-parent services. This year, we developed 13 empirical projects under the theme Smart Health and Living, with 3 subcategories: Smart Living, Smart Healthcare, and Innovative Business Service Design. In the end, 6 cases were commercialized with a project chain of 34 manufacturers. The results were successfully modeled on 20 sites. Check out this smart fitness mirror. Not only does it demonstrate the workout routine, but it also has a camera which detects the angle and the speed of the user's workout to make sure that they're not making any mistakes, to make sure they don't get injured, and to make sure that they're doing it efficiently. In 2020, the Taiwan Industrial Development Bureau joined the project and provided the resources to extend the reach of the Living Lab. This then brought about cross-field cooperation. The focus this year is on smart application and empirical landing. In other words, to assist enterprises to transform and solve industrial problems. For example, recognition technology also helps to minimize the risk of accidents and maintain the safety of workers on construction sites. This also increases productivity and improves inspection rules. For the first time, the government and associations collaborated to establish a manufacturer counseling and resource matching mechanism. The topics in focus this year are e-commerce, healthcare, worker safety, manufacturing defect inspection, and biomedicine. A total of 37 project cases were facilitated, with technologies including identification, behavior detection, process and quality detection, and accurate data marketing. This mattress, developed by Vervoort, uses micro-motion sensing and AI cough recognition to detect the user's status. This includes respiration, heartbeat, and if the user has gotten out of bed or not. The mattress can detect abnormal signs of breathing in seconds. The user can also seek help by simply tapping on the mattress. This service offers elderly and patients in need of comprehensive care the service they need with privacy. Since there's no wearable device, it's super comfortable and fits into everyday life. This solves the problem of instability due to sensor displacement. It can reduce the burden of work on caregivers and help to improve the quality and the efficiency of the care service. We know AI can write articles and do quality checks, but did you know AI can barbecue too? Let's take a look. In this deli called Bento Factory, AI helps check the size, amount, and status of food ingredients. The AI equipment also helps check important cooking parameters, such as cooking time, temperature, air supply, air current speed, and so on, so that cooking is exactly as expected. With this equipment, you can save 10% cooking time, which means you increase productivity by 50%. This means you can save time, energy, and ingredients, and make sure that the food, taste, and quality is always consistent. But that's not all. The AI also manages cooking equipment and runs a self-cleaning program after use, which finishes in just 12 minutes. You can also use an app to remotely manage the system. That removes the need for a chef, a stove, and a cashier. Through the HACCP system, you can do everything automatically, and you can download the cooking data from the last 10 days. In short, it's extremely convenient and cost efficient. Last but not least, AI can also help you to manage your business better. smart website management, and AI Hawkeye data monitoring system, reviews and comments on news and social media are semantically analyzed. This will help your business to be more popular on the internet and come up with precise promotional strategies. On-site safety management in factories is the biggest challenge to operators. Firstly, waste disposal personnel need to make regular checks at the equipment location, but it was impossible to keep track of the progress and locations of the inspections. Secondly, the inspection route is complicated, which makes the whole process very time-consuming. It's also very difficult if an accident occurs to be noticed. Or when an employee is working alone, it's impossible to report abnormalities immediately. This can happen and leaks may occur or accidents. This compromises work safety. The factory environment is very complex. It's easy to waste manpower. The inspection also takes a long time, so efficiency suffers. To solve this problem, this factory introduced the Smart AI location system for inspection personnel. This system from Sweetech Incorporated ensures safety for all by using a mobile app and locators to establish a management program for inspection. By optimizing the inspection routes, the system reduces the risk of accidents. It also improves the efficiency of accident response. This means saving €160,000 every year in personnel expenses and prevent close downs, which can be at the risk of €150,000 per day. Construction sites occupy a very large area, which makes it very difficult for site managers to do effective safety management. For example, there may be many entrances, which makes access control and applying access restrictions during machine operation very difficult. It's also difficult to keep checking if every worker is wearing full safety equipment or if there are any abnormalities on site. To solve this problem, Dhaka Automatic Engineering Safety Management Systems, designed by Sheila Technologies, offers a solution that requires only locators and a mobile app with no cable needed. Without even a single sensor, you can predict hazards from air quality, high temperature, and rainfall, and receive earthquake warnings, all made possible by AI algorithms. The transmission base can connect to various types of sensors and can transmit a signal for up to 2 kilometers without the need for Wi-Fi or 4G networks. Whenever there's a potential risk of harm, the system can proactively send an alert to nearby personnel to take proactive measures. When personnel enter the work area, the system automatically sends push notifications of hazards and of occupational safety. Once they're on site, the system will track the worker. Anomaly detection will automatically be turned on to remind the worker when they enter a dangerous area, such as an elevated or a confined space, or if they enter a dangerous environment where there could be high heat, bad air quality, rainfall hazard, or the risk of earthquakes. When an anomaly occurs, the system will automatically send a notification to management and nearby personnel so that a quick inspection and rescue can happen. If unauthorized personnel enters an area that requires clearance, they will be reminded to leave. If they stay for too long, management will be notified so that they can take the appropriate measures. We want you all to have a safe working environment. Project teams that wish to do field experimentation are welcome to come and join us here.
코로나 이후에 2020년 홈 트레이닝부터 해서 웨이트 트레이닝 미러
introduced the various case examples of home training and other smart system, smart healthcare system, for post-COVID-19. Those examples were very interesting. And I think Korea and other countries, because they are under very similar pandemic situations, they can refer to these practices of Taiwan, which are having great success. And I think deploying cutting-edge technologies and this sensor system, Korea and Taiwan are very similar countries which are highly utilizing those technologies. Thank you, speakers, for your great presentations. Now I'd like to start a debate discussion or Q&A time. The Korean public officials are attending this forum as audience, and they are posing some questions. And one common question is about AI and robot. Future that will be brought about by AI and robot. And some people are voicing concern about AI because they are worried about a leakage of personal data and privacy data. So before asking questions to three speakers, head of FNF Korea, Mr. Christian Tax, please give us some comment after hearing this question. According to philosophy of FNF Korea, AI robots will create different future, and you will have your own future vision. What is your philosophy or values or some issues for thought when it comes to AI?
Well, yeah, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to comment on that. I think the vision and of the future is not really easy to develop in a minute or so. But this is the very reason why what we need these living labs for. I think you clearly show us with your questions how important it is to bring all these options that are offered to us by information technology and AI was to the people, because this is what we have to keep in mind, and this is why we are doing all these living lab efforts. I give you an example. I think I really was fascinated by all the three of your presentations, but what was shown to us by Belinda, well, for me coming from Europe, that was really impressive, what you presented to us. But again, and there we are back with the living labs. This has implications, let's say, for the living of the people very directly. What about their future jobs? When we all switch our lives to, let's say, contactless vending machines, meal orders, things like this. Of course, this is a blessing in the time of Corona, but it will stay with us. Most of that will stay with us even after Corona. What does that mean for the economy? What does that mean for the jobs? And I'm very happy that, Mr. Jung, you have mentioned the data protection and the privacy issue, because what we as a liberal foundation, of course, always have in mind, we are open for any kind of progress, and we are always sitting where the optimists sit, but we have to recognize that it needs big data, it needs the delivery of many persons' data to process them and to make the best out of it for the people. But on the other side, we have these privacy issues, which are also a very high value for us as Friedrich Naumann Foundation. So seeing what has been done in the field of living labs since 2006, and I know the about the professional background of Fernando as well. So you are in the very center of these considerations, which so what has to follow socially out of the fascination and all the technical options we are having today. So this is mainly what really moves me when it comes to, and again, a very COVID-driven progress we are in. So Fernando said, well, this is not over. You said that in connection with the COVID-19, but none of this is over. Many things, I hope not COVID-19, but some of the things which have been added, if we want it or not, it has been added to our lives and they will stay. This is the very beginning, and this is what I hope we can continue to work on. And if I may ask a question to all of you, these considerations I've just mentioned about, let's say, job, economic development, and all the implications coming out of that, are these part of your of your work and your further planning and of your considerations? And if so, can you share a few thoughts with us about that? Thank you very much.
네, 한영사만 해주셔도 되는데.
Thank you very much. You not only gave us welcoming remarks, but you engaged in our discussion, and you also gave us some questions to ponder and respond to. I would like to ask the other panelists the same question I asked Dr. Christian Tux. So let me give the mic to Mr. Fernando. Would you respond to the first question that I asked?
Thank you very much, Dr. Cho. I will definitely try to provide what we are, our view and my personal view as well as a scientist and responsible of a research and technology transfer center on computer vision and AI. As you may know, computer vision is the artificial intelligence of images and videos. And when we're talking about that, we very quickly think of facial recognition. We very quickly think of document analysis. We very quickly think about character recognition, text on the web, etc., etc., etc. And as Mr. Tux very well pointed out, there is an enormous concern, not only from the lay population, but I am fully aware that for the regulators and also for the companies in this area. So what is the vision that we are having, or the vision that we're having in ENoLL regarding this? First of all, and this is my view and the view that we are developing in ENoLL, when a problem like this happens, we usually tend to create an observatory of the transformation of the industry and take notes and see what is happening. But there is something very innate to artificial intelligence revolution. It is that we cannot take for granted that we can see the impact now. So probably our task, and this is the task that we are having in the action-oriented task force of social impact of AI, our task is not observing the impact, but unveiling the impact, making it observable for the future that is coming. And this is a very different task that we had so far with other technologies, in which a direct impact on transformation was clear, or at least we could perceive. In the years to come, there's going to be an enormous transformation in the job profiles for us in general, globally. This is going to be an actual industrial revolution in terms of digitalization and automation, and also automatic decision making. We just don't know how to manage this. And we have to be humble enough to say that we just don't know. So the ENoLL approach is, okay, since we assume that we just don't know, let us work together by doing it in order to unveil what happens if we do things in a definite, in an appropriate way. And I will give you a number of examples, as Mr. Tax was suggesting. For instance, we're working together with Belinda, as she mentioned, in a number of particular technologies in order to co-create these solutions and to have some case studies and examples on the ecosystems. In the case of Barcelona, we are also understanding how the public space is transformed so that public engagement can happen during the discussion, the analysis, and also the early adoption of new AI technologies. Our colleagues in Barcelona and Utrecht are working in new performing artistic ways of having this engagement also possible. We are having we are started working with our colleagues in Greece in order to understand how the mobility is going to be transformed in a complete way in our cities. So it makes no sense at all to think that we are going to be able to tell our citizens how they should behave in a new mobility framework. So what makes sense, and here's the business model, the systemic transformation of mobility allows for the co-creation of the processes. So these are a few examples in which the ENoLL way of doing it is associated to the projects that our members are having. So what we expect is that in a couple of years, we will have not only a database of case studies, but an actual results, an actual narrative for the social impact of artificial intelligence. And when I use the word social here, that is not referring, as probably in other fields is referring to, not leaving anyone behind and to include, let's say, the weakest population or the less favored population. It is not about that. It is about understanding the impact that the artificial intelligence would have in the whole social tissue. Again, new jobs, the way in which we're educating our children and our professionals in artificial intelligence in order to allow them to get the capacity to access to these new profiles. Also, the way in which we engage our population in the decision-making processes for the urban transformations that are going to happen, etc., etc. Health system is an excellent example here. We have an enormous opportunity of giving a leap forward from health systems to well-being societies, in which the health system service is just one of the layers, but all the population is contributing from different associations and from an ecosystem of companies contributing to the innovation-led growth in order to have a better way of living. So I think that this is more or less a high-level approach about how the ENoLL community of Living Labs could contribute in the years to come. Since we have this program of action-oriented task forces and the projects that Koen already mentioned, I think that we will be very, very happy to work with all of you in this definitely amazing times that we are having, and as Christian was mentioning, it is just the beginning of it.
네. 중간에 이게 중단시키지 못할 정도로
Well, that was a very passionate speech.
열정적인 답변을
I
주셨습니다.
couldn't dare to interrupt.
전체 회의가 길었으면
If we had planned enough time for this forum, then I would have more time to each speaker. That is a very shame, but we have this tight schedule. So let me ask very short questions.
이제 공무원들이 되게 많습니다.
So this is going to Belinda Chen. So there are so many public officials in the audience.
공무원들,
Korean public officials.
리빙랩을 기획하고
Can you introduce the planning and organizing Living Lab? Can you give some tips or know-hows to Korean officials when it comes to planning Living Labs?
All right. So when we start our Living Lab in the year of 2008, actually at that time, not many, I have to know officials is familiar with the Living Lab concept and how to operate the Living Lab. So at that time, we start to get engaged with ENoLL, and we learning from ENoLL as well. So we first step is we have to build up a community which will be very willing to participate in the trial projects. I have to say that it's the most difficult thing since I have operated the Living Lab in Taiwan, because for Living Lab context, we have to get real users to participate in the project. It's not only a demo project. You need to get to work with the community to know what the people's demands and to create an ecosystem. Therefore, what I suggest for the Korean officers, if you would like to establish a Living Lab, there's a few factors that you must be able to invite in your ecosystem. First one is you need a research organization, either is a local one or a national one. You have a research organization working with you to create either new solutions or either new engagement methods with the participants. That's very important one. And the second one is you need to work with your community group. First of all, we try to find a few major residents community groups that is kind of very vocal and attract more residents to participate. So you need to have to find this kind of groups to work with you. That's the second important thing. And the third thing is you need to work with local enterprises, the business owners, or the stakeholders. You can call it the stakeholders. The stakeholders can help you to build up the ecosystem and then to provide the services that you want in order for you to accomplish the Living Lab projects. For example, in this year, when we first engage with the local business owners, we are trying to convince them to do the digital transformation for their business. Since after the COVID-19 pandemic, the business is getting very, very slow, and they cannot even survive if they do the business in the old way. So we're trying to make them to think things in different way, and also to make them to do things from offline to online. And what I have told them is, when you do the things online to attract the customers or the users, in the future, when the situation get better and we go back to the normal life, these participants will still, and the users will still be your customers in the future. So you are not losing anything, but it's worthwhile to try this digital transformation thing with us in our Living Lab. That's how I convince them. So I think for the local officers in Korea, if you would like to establish a Living Lab in your community, that's a very key factors to make you success.
네, 감사합니다.
Thank you very much.
쿤 페어부트.
Lastly, I would like to ask a question to Mr. Koen Vervoort.
시간이 좀 길면 더 심도 있는 질문.
If we had a lot more time, we would have been able to engage in more in-depth discussions, but I'm afraid this has to be almost the last question.
보시는 이 ENoLL에서 근무하시면서
So you are working at ENoLL, and
유럽 이외의 아시아
you have experience working with living labs in Europe, but also with living labs in Asia, including Korea and Taiwan and other continents. Do you see any difference between the living labs from different regions? Is there a difference?
Yes, most definitely, because culture and the background of the ecosystem plays a role in the way that people set up living labs and run living labs. The culture in Asia is different from the one in Europe, different from the one in America, and different from the one in Africa. So yes, there is a difference. Does that mean that the one is better than the other? No, it's just the other way of approaching the thing. So relating to this, and relating to the answer of Belinda made earlier, indeed, a good consortium or a governance of your living lab is crucial, and identifying the stakeholders who should be involved is important to guarantee the sustainability of a living lab in the long run. And when you start engaging stakeholders or users, whatever you want to call them, which is the field which I know was active before I entered, as well within IMEC, then, and this is actually true for every living lab globally. It doesn't make a difference whether you're in Asia or in Oceania or Africa or Europe. When you are planning to build up your living lab, you should think about the stakeholder engagement strategy, and the scoping of what you're aiming with your living lab is so crucial before you start launching it. A second advice is don't start big, start small and grow organically, because a living lab process is a co-creation process to the core. You want to involve all the stakeholders, and you can learn as much as you want from the experts, and of course you can prevent some pitfalls, but mistakes, you will make mistakes. Living lab process is a fail forward process, or a fail trial and error process. So when you can start with a small community of users, which you can really more highly be interactive with, then you can take the lessons forward and upscale the group of living lab participants, let's say. So my advice from stakeholder engagement perspective would be, and this is, like I mentioned, equal to any living lab in the world, is take enough time to prepare what you want to do. Scope what you're planning for, do some operational planning. How is this actually functionally going to work? Who's going to do what? Divide roles and responsibilities within your living lab setting. And then before you start inviting people to participate in living lab projects, make sure that you have a support structure, a rewarding structure, incentivizing them. Why should they participate? That's an important question which you should take into account. And last but not least, this was, I think, the first question, a protection system. And GDPR was already mentioned, certainly when you're working with AI. You have to make clear to all the participants in your living lab which data will flow, how are we going to use it, what is done with your personal data, and all that kind of stuff. That's protection on the one hand, GDPR, but of course, let's say with the nice movie from Belinda and her speaker on the construction site, it's another thing which you need to take into account by setting up a living lab is insurances and making sure that they can participate in a safe environment. And then I would say go out there and communicate about what you want to do and create momentum and pick it up. But make sure that you can measure process, because otherwise all those first steps don't have any reason to do. You will be investing quite some time and effort in setting it up. So if you cannot measure the impact of what you're doing, it's a pity about the efforts done. So think in advance also about, well, you can call it KPIs, but measurement systems. That would be my advice.
네, 마지막
Well, thank you.
후배
That was the remark
답변
by
감사히
Mr.
들었습니다.
Koen Vervoort.
좀 시간이 있으면 마지막 거를 조금 더
If we
논의해보고
had more
싶었는데
time, I
저희가
very much like to ask the last
개인적으로는
question to all of the
브뤼셀에
speakers.
있는 ENoLL 본사에 방문한 적이 있었습니다.
I visited
상당히
the
이
headquarters of
성과
ENoLL in
내지는 이런
Brussels.
측정 이런 거에도
Korean
관심이 좀
people,
많습니다.
they are very
마지막에
interested
말씀하신
in outcome,
그런
performance,
툴이
and performance measurement, as was
ENoLL에도
mentioned by
있는지
Mr. Koen Vervoort.
궁금했었는데
So I wanted to know
이거는
whether the performance
개인적인
measurement tool is
궁금증이면서도 해서
available at
다음 기회에
ENoLL,
제가
but this is my
이메일을
personal
통해서
curiosity,
개인적으로
so
한번
I
다시
will
여쭤보도록
send some
하겠습니다.
email questions to ENoLL.
오늘 주신 것처럼 새로운 우리의 공동의 미래 그리고
And we
이것들을
talked
하기
about
위한
our vision
공동의
for shared
함께하는
future and
고민들
shared
그리고
path,
함께
along
만들어가는
with shared
공동 창조
concerns.
이런
This is a
것들이
co-creation
리빙랩의
process,
그런
and this is the
시각이면서도
co-creation
오늘
is the
저희가
spirit
세미나
and
진행을
philosophy
하면서도
of this living
기술적으로나
lab, and
아니면
this
개념적으로도 다
co-creation
배웠던 것 같습니다.
philosophy has been
특히
learned
오늘
during the
나우만
process we
재단사의
organize and
팍스
proceed
대표님
with this forum.
끝까지 저희
My deepest
화정사부터
gratitude
토론까지
goes
같이
to Mr.
해주셔서
Christian
대단히
Pax, head of
감사합니다.
FNF
다음에는
Korea, for giving us a
발제자로 꼭
welcome speech.
모시고
Next time,
좋은
please
의견들
join this forum
이 시간
as
들었으면
a
좋겠습니다.
speaker, so that you
그리고
can give more
페르난도 그리고
expertise and share
쿡
more of your expertise with
멀리
the audience.
코로나
I'm also
때문에 저희
grateful to all
유럽에서
of the speakers from
긴 거리,
Mr. Fernando
공간적인 거리를
Vilariño
추월해서
and Koen
온라인에서
Vervoort.
도움을
Even
주셨습니다.
though we have this
벨린다
huge
첸
geographical distance,
아주 구체적인
thanks to
사례로
COVID,
저희에게
now
도움이
we
많이
are
주셨습니다.
you have invited you
이상으로
without traveling such a long distance
저희
online. And thank you, Ms.
클리드에서
Belinda Chen, for your great
준비한
presentation as
국제
well.
리빙랩
This was a
하겠습니다.
very meaningful time.
모두
This
감사드립니다.
brings us to the
고맙습니다.
end of
다음 기회에
International
만나도록
Living Lab Forum.
하겠습니다.
Thank you all so much. We will see you next time.